on, guys? It's Surfcasting the Island, and today I'm going to be talking about how to find striped bass on the open beach. This is going to be a three-part lecture, and that I will also be discussing how to find them in inlets and back bays at a later time. If you're a serious striped bass fisherman like me, the open beach is probably the least productive area of finding them. And the reason being is they're a structure-oriented fish, and if you do end up finding them in 10 feet or less, they're looking to feed. So the song remains the same in the sense that if you find them in shallow water, chances are you're going to catch them. And if they're not there, you're not going to catch them. It's just as simple as that. There's no other two ways of putting it, would you say? So if we talk about the South Shore as a whole, I'm talking about local areas like I fish Rockaway all the way to Robert Moses. The bite occurs on a dropping tide. What I mean by that is the top of the outgoing all the way to the bottom of the tide right before it swings incoming. And the reason being is the majority, I say the majority because there are exceptions to the rule, but the majority of our sandbars drop to the south, and that gives the fish the advantage on an outgoing tide to ambush the bait. In terms of an incoming tide, you need an inner bar that runs along the beach and within 20-30 yards casting range. That's what you would consider an inner bar, and that would produce an incoming tide bite. So in terms of finding these sandbars, you have to locate a beach that has a very steep slope or a pitch, have you will. So I'm sure you guys have been to beaches where it's it's not a 45, maybe a 30 degree, 40 degree angle downwards of the beach. And that's very important because that means there's at least deep water close to shore, and that guarantees that there's probably also an outer bar as well. So when you take waves into consideration, you want a beach that has a strong pitch. That means when the wave comes up, it goes under and it flattens out right away. What that means is you have deep water in front of you. You want to fish the edge of that bar because those fish are going to be waiting, whether it's the inner bar or the outer bar, and depending on which way the tide is going, that's where they're going to look to feed, and that's where you want your bait to be. So again, that pitch is very important, but also it has to do with wind. There's certain winds that produce and there's certain winds that won't produce. As a whole, again, people may disagree with me, that's fine. They have their opinions as well. There are three winds that'll consistently produce, that being a northeast, a southeast, and a southwest wind. And what that causes is a significant amount of wave action in whitewater. Striped bass prefer turbulent water over calm water any day of the week because it causes the bait to get disrupted. When that wave crashes down, that bait disperses. The striped bass use that as a blanket and cover to ambush those fish into the shallow water. So taking bars and cuts and drops with the white water and wind into consideration, that's what's going to cause the perfect situation in terms of finding these fish in these given areas. So my definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So, how does that apply to fishing? Well, let's take West End 2 for example. If you fish there on a westerly wind one day and you don't catch fish and you go back again, chances are you're not going to catch fish. But if you find that you catch fish and it produces on a southwest wind and you go back, chances are you could duplicate that situation. In my book, whether you're fishing the open beach or whatnot, you only learn when you catch fish. I've personally learned nothing when I get skunked and whatnot. And that's the most important thing because then you can start to duplicate situations like I mentioned previously. This pretty much concludes this lecture. I hope what I touched upon consistency, finding fish, and why they're there, and how all these factors play into consideration all apply. If you really like this video, please like, comment, and hit that subscribe button. Thank you.